Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today we're in week 2 of lockdown down here in Australia, or partial lockdown, or somewhat lockdown. So there'll be a lot more of these. Pretty much every show from now on for a while will probably be a Skype one, unless I do them with my children or my partner. But luckily, we've got another friend of the show who's been coming back for another round, and she's in semi-lockdown herself. It's Holly from Rebel Dispatch. How you going, Holly?
Hi, good.
Now, you're not completely in lockdown, are you? It's an odd time.
No. I am apparently essential retail worker, so that's great.
What are you selling? Respirators, masks, hand sanitizer?
Well, we're all out of all of that stuff at the moment, so, we sell plants, though, so people apparently need plants during these times. So
are you a Bunnings or one of those sort of the big ones?
I am, yes.
Do you?
So it's plants and paint,
or as it's known at our house now, Hammer Barn. After I don't know if you get that reference or not, since you didn't have children, but there was an episode of Bluey that just came out where they go to basically Bunnings and they call it Hammer Barn in the show, and now we just call it Hammer Barn at our house now.
Yeah, I did see the pictures. It was amusing.
Yeah, it was very accurate, actually. If you ever, I know that you don't have small children, you probably wouldn't come across Bluey, but you got pop on the ABC iView. You're going to be inside for a while. You'll need things to watch. You're like, I'll just pop on that Hammer Barn, see how accurate it actually is.
Yeah, I'll have to do that.
So have you kind of in preparation for, because I think eventually we're all going to be locked down here, but we're looking closer and closer. Are you making sort of arrangements? Have you got your DVDs all stacked and your books, piled high, and your Disney Plus ready to roll and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I mean, I definitely have my books piled high because I have a few Star Wars books that I haven't touched yet.
Oh.
So, there's just so many that I impulse bought a lot of stuff around the time of The Last Jedi.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of that stuff is books. So, Leia, Princess of Alderaan, from a certain point of view, 2 I definitely want to get onto. And then I definitely want to go out and buy Last Shot.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's going to be plenty for me to do.
You just bought them, look at them going...
Need to know.
You just go, when am I going to get time to read these realistically,
Yeah. And then, I just need to control myself and not rewatch Brooklyn Nine-Nine for, the 100th time.
Oh, yeah, we're doing that at the moment.
It's a bad habit.
We've had this weird thing where we've been watching it on Netflix, and then we've been watching the new ones. So we just had we'll have a thing where it's Doug Judy episodes will start overlapping. They just had a Doug Judy episode, a new one, and then we put on Netflix, and then there was a Doug Judy. We're like, we're getting double Doug Judy episodes because he comes back every season for an episode. We're going, the things are crossing over. Yeah, we're getting actually very close to the end of the ones on Netflix. Although I think I've got them all on a box somewhere. But it's a very good of just hey, let's just put this on. And when I don't want to watch the news for a while, I'm like, I don't want to watch the news, and then I'll put Brooklyn Nine-Nine on.
Yeah. I know I need to branch out, but that show is just a big comfy blanket at the moment, so...
I saw a hilarious clip on YouTube of the actress or the actor who plays Amy Santiago. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she used to be on a soap, her first gig was a soap, and there's this hilarious YouTube clip of her, on her wedding day or something. It's either her wedding or she crashes a wedding and she punches the bride in the face, or she gets punched in the face. I'll have to send it to you. It's hilarious because it's just, she looks a little bit younger, obviously, but it's Amy Santiago getting punched in the face in her wedding dress or something. It's very, very funny. Have you ever seen the footage of the lady who plays Rosa in real life? Her doing interviews and stuff?
Yeah, her voice is so different.
It's there's an episode we just watched where Rosa goes undercover at a hairdresser's to get information, and she's sort of acting all ditzy. And we're like, that's what Rosa sounds like in real life.
Yeah. Oh, that's another good episode, that one, actually.
Yeah, that's a Doug Judy one as well, I think. Is it a Doug Judy? Yeah. No, there's a quarantine one. So that was very apt as well. So Kevin and Jake are in quarantine or in witness protection. Yeah. Like,
I need to go back and watch that one as well.
How apt. Now, I'm just trying to think. Last time we had you on was when Rise of the Rebellion had just come out. And we were sort of just about to hit Rise of Skywalker. We were like really, really close. And we were sort of talking about, you know, how are you going to watch it? What are you feeling? And we talked about the shipping and all that kind of stuff. And they kind of, the big ship kind of got shot down even before the movie came out, didn't it?
Yeah, and it was odd in a way because, like, everyone seemed so excited about it up until, like, the week before.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, it was weird. Like, I guess we were all expecting it, but just to have that sort of excited lead up and then have that sudden sort of no was odd.
Yeah, I mean, personally, would you have preferred to not know nothing go in, or more to be like, oh, well, at least I'm not going to be looking for that as the movie rolls on? Because it could have easily watched the movie and gone, hey, this is gonna happen. You know, like...
Well, that's the thing though. Like, I'm like, all things being considered, I'm actually quite happy with what we got in the movie. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it would have made any difference. Like, I would have liked more, but at the same time, there's so much more they could have done in the other direction that they, like, I thought they would do, and they didn't. They actually sort of,
so, I mean, it was a little bit ambiguous, and then even the Poe stuff was like with Zori Bliss at the end, where he's kind of like looking at her. You feel like Zori Bliss is just going, dude, like, we all know, like, I'm not your freaking beard, okay, like.
Yeah, like, if they wanted to be more, I guess, direct with all of that stuff, they could have easily been, and they weren't, so.
Yeah.
And I think part of that was, I feel like with the movie, it almost felt like, especially with the shipping, they were trying to please everyone in a way, sort of.
Mm. Well, it seemed like the Raylos weren't. They kind of were happy for about a minute, and then were furious. I mean, not to bring all that up again, but it was kind of like yay, and then boo, and then it's Have you got a digital copy of it yet? Have you watched it since cinema stuff?
Yes, I just had a 6-day work week last week, so as soon as I got home,
like I need to take my mind
bought
off
it
things.
And sat down and watched it. Because I was gonna wait for the DVD, but especially now that we kind of can't go out, I don't know when I'll be getting the physical copy.
Yeah,
like I will get it, but
I have purposely sort of avoided all the extras and stuff online because I want to watch them on the disc. And now I'm just going, I can't just pop down to JB Hi-Fi. So, I'll just have to wait and see. I mean, they might put it in supermarkets and stuff, perhaps, but that'll probably be the only place I can get it. But I don't know if Woolies are selling the 4K, steelbook or something like that. So
they'll probably only have like the DVD version, which.
That's not going to fly. I've got a 75-inch TV. I can't be putting like a 480p cut on there. I'm just like, this is no good. So what was your feeling? Like, how'd you go on your opening night? You said you were going with. Did you have a couple of friends you were going to go with? I'm just trying to remember. You just rolled solo.
Yeah, I just went by myself.
Did you go midnight?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was great because like my local cinema was absolutely packed, and it's just always so nice to be surrounded by other people who are excited for the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, and I feel like that feeling's only ever matched by Celebration.
Yeah, oh God, poor old Celebration.
That's a whole other issue. But no, it was a really good vibe. I had my reclining seat. It was comfy.
Yep.
And the poor guy next to me, had empty space on one side and another random person next to me. The poor guy next to me probably got a good understanding of how I felt about particular scenes.
So you're quite animated in the cinema, were you?
I think there was 2 points where I verbally expressed my displeasure, but yeah.
Oh, can you enlighten us?
So the first was, and this is something I've definitely cooled down on now, was the Poe and Sorry stuff, which at first viewing annoyed the hell out of me now barely bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second was the Reylo kiss, which again, honestly, I just leave the room at that point. I don't bother pausing. That is my designated toilet break.
The very 5 minutes to go in the movie.
2 hours into the movie. But no, yeah, those were the two bits that annoyed me, and going into the movie, those were probably the two sort of issues I was the most worried about.
Yep.
And they didn't annoy me nearly as much as I expected.
Yeah. So when
I ended up being happy with Ben Solo's story, which I did not anticipate at all.
What was the room and the feel in the room when the Reylo kiss happened? Were people sort of laughing or cheering or just sort of going along? It was really different reactions in every. I saw it at the cinema a few times, and one time I saw the opening night, people sort of and then there was a bit of one people kind of laughed. When Ben Solo died, because he just sort of dropped dead, and then other times people were really quiet and sort of really shocked, and it was weird. It was I saw it in I never saw it in the same cinema twice, and then obviously it's different crowds as it goes along as well. You know what I mean? You go early, it's the hardcores, and then you go a day or two, it's people who are into it but not nuts enough to go midnight, and then we went weeks later. It was kind of Star Wars, I'll go check it out because it's on, and then it's sort of more casual people, but. The room sort of reacted a lot of different times to stuff.
Yeah. Honestly, especially on the first viewing, I was so... the last third of that movie, I was incredibly stressed. Worried that my favourites were going to die.
Yep.
So I honestly don't even remember how everyone else around me was reacting. Because that final battle scene was the most worked up I've ever been during a Star Wars movie.
Wow. So...
I was terrified.
So when those sort of, those ships all turn up, did you sort of, jump out of your seat and punch the air a little bit? Or was that the big moment for you, sort of when it looks like everything's...
No! It wasn't. Because, again, I was sort of reliving this when I watched it the other day. I seesawed so quickly in that final scene, you get stressed because it's only those, the small amount of ships there.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of the ships turn up and you get excited. But then...
They'll get
all the
electrocuted.
ships are getting brought down. And then I'm stressing there. I'm just oh no, Poe's going to die. And then they don't. But then the ship that Finn and Janna are on is going down. And I'm just oh no, they're going to kill Finn. So, yeah, it was going back and forward. And I know I was... quite worried that Poe wouldn't make it out alive, so I don't know. It was a stressful few minutes.
And then at the end, they killed Ben Solo. You're he had a good run.
Yeah, well, as people have said, he got to return to the light, return to his parents, and he honestly ended up dying the way I expected him to. Or rather thought he would, but didn't really imagine that they would actually do it.
Sort of sacrificing himself sort of thing.
Yeah, sacrificing himself for the cause. That's what I wanted and that's what I logically expected. But part of me was also just oh, what if they're going to have him live and, figure out all the things that he did?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, look, I've sort of said all along he had to go. I wasn't really... I mean, I'm surprised the way that they did it. It got that sort of when they kind of turned and went, oh, that's interesting. Although it's funny because have you read the Kylo Ren comics?
No, I haven't.
It's kind of weird because people go, oh, well, he came back to the light and he was such a cool guy, and you know what I mean, he has his little moments and stuff. And but then they do these Kylo Ren comics where it's Ben Solo, he's more whiny Anakin Skywalker through all of that stuff. He's not. There's no signs that he's a cool guy. I'm where is this cool Ben Solo coming from? All the lead up. I know he kind of turns to the dark side towards that thing, but it's not sort of showing any kind of cool dude. I mean, he was cool for 5 minutes of his life and then dropped dead.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel part of that's definitely Adam Driver.
Oh, for sure.
If he were played by someone who wasn't Adam Driver, he would not be as cool.
Oh, look, I've said this a few times on this podcast. Adam Driver is too good an actor for these movies, really. You know what I mean? Like, he elevates that character, to a level. If it had been, I'm not going to pull out some other actor's name and poo-poo them, but you know what I mean? He's one of the best actors in the world, so he's elevating the material, so to speak. So what other stuff was your sort of, your jump out of the seat moment, or sort of the stuff that you sort of felt most satisfied with the film?
Lando's return, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we all knew it was coming, but I didn't really start crying a lot with this movie until like my third or fourth viewing. I think because I was so shocked.
Yep.
But on my first viewing, I cried when Lando turned up. And I don't know why, but that moment just really hit me.
That's interesting,
because he's the last of the original group.
Yeah, because you got in, people who've listened to you on here before know that you're really a sequel trilogy fan originally. Like, your gate through was Force Awakens. That's how you came into it. So it's not though Lando was somebody you grew up on. You've gone back and gone, oh, I really like Lando because I've rewatched those other movies. But that's interesting that the character resonates with you a lot, even in these new films.
Yeah, it was something about that moment as well. I think seeing like the trio meet him.
Yep, like it really.
That
sort
was
of
just
felt
such
real.
a cool moment as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was good too, Billy D.
Oh yeah.
I not worried, but it's celebration. He's in his 80s, and he sort of got up on the stage and you're all so sweet. He was there, but he was really like, how you doing, Chewbacca? He really sort of he really brought the energy. And I think that's credit to JJ in that respect. And he did the same for Harrison Ford as well. Harrison Ford kind of mumbles through a lot of stuff these days, and especially Force Awakens, Harrison Ford really brought the Han energy as well. For a guy who's her older as well. What did you think of the handling of the Carrie stuff of Leia? Were you sort of like, well, it is what it is, they did the best they could kind of stuff, or?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I was okay with it, but I'm not. Like, I love Carrie, but I'm not someone who, really
ride or die
loves her as much as some. As much as some people do. So yeah, like, I was impressed and happy with it, but yeah, I don't know if that was enough for people who really, really, really love her.
Yeah. Oh, look, I can see the argument. I think people who really, really love her understood the circumstances. I don't think they could have done much more. And then I've seen a little bit of a VFX reel of what they actually, they really, they basically just kind of took her face, and put it on and did a whole bunch of stuff just to get that. So I think that's pretty admirable. Now, you're our resident book expert. You come in here and you help me out on the getting an understanding of these books and things, because I don't have to. Well, you know what? I say I don't have time to read them. I've got two small children, so I'll be inside the house with them. I'm still not going to have time to read them. I just I'll be lucky if I have time to podcast. Really, we're just it's naps here at the moment, so it's worked out quite well. But
excellent.
The Rise of Skywalker novel has dropped, so to speak. It's you can get it, and you've read it. So I thought we'd get you in here and see if you can enlighten me on the things that go down this novel. Just general first impressions first, and then we'll get into the sort of the stuff that elevates or detracts or adds to the film, really. So was it sort of satisfying read for you?
Well, I will say I read most of it all in one go, and then took a break, and then suddenly lost motivation to finish the last 90 pages.
Oh. So you don't know how it ends.
So I have gone. Yeah, I've gone back and read the last few scenes, like the bits I really care about, but I haven't read the last 90 pages sort of back to back, if you will.
Oh, that's okay.
But, definitely went back and read that last trio scene just to see how it translated to Word. But overall, it's, for me personally, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Mm-hmm. I feel like it handles a lot of the female characters very well, like Leia, Rey, Rose, and even Sorry, all are definitely treated well and, definitely have that story added to in the book.
Yep.
Whereas I feel like Finn and Poe, and this is partly just because John and Oscar bring so much to their characters, I feel like they're sort of... First off, like, the emotional depth between the two characters isn't there.
Yep.
And then, like, Finn's story isn't delved into in the way I kind of hoped it would have been in the novelisation. And both characters kind of just feel flat.
Oh, interesting. So are they doing...
Like, they're
are they kind of essentially just doing the same thing that they've done in the film, whereas Leia and Rose are doing more than they did in the film? Like, they're kind of having their slack picked up?
Yeah, I mean, like, they're doing essentially the same. Like, there's an extended scene between Poe and Zori, but that essentially reads the same as in the movie. It's like, yeah, they're doing the same, but without the sort of, emotional and physical intimacy that John and Oscar brought to the characters and sort of showed on screen.
Yep.
Like, there's moments in the movie where the characters are, like, essentially snuggling or, like, touching each other, and that just isn't translated into the book. And I feel like that's just, their connection in the movie is one of the strongest aspects of the movie.
Yep.
And it's just not translated well, if at all, into the book.
Interesting. So,
like, in comparison, like, Rebecca Roanhorse got that connection really well in Resistance Reborn.
Yep.
And it's just not there in this novelisation.
Interesting. Whether they're just trying to step it back in the book or something. But, so did they sort of set the tone of the film, or the story at the start of the film, or do they give sort of more of like what's going on with this Emperor deal? Like, what's the deal? Is it sort of
they definitely
played out a little bit more?
A bit. I mean, like, there's definitely more of that opening theme with Kylo.
Yep.
That's extended, and then, yeah. The opening training with Leia and Rey is also extended quite a lot, and that's actually one of the very best parts of the novelisation is, we get to see more of Leia training Rey, and that's just amazing.
Right. Is it sort of established earlier on that she has done way... it sort of comes late in the film where you kind of find out that Leia's done, pretty much all the Jedi training except for, like, the last 5 minutes of it. Like, is it sort of played out earlier that she's pretty much a trained Jedi, or is it still a reveal, or does she sort of delve into her training at all before that point, or not really? Or is she just barking orders, saying, grab that, hit that ball, jump that log?
I've got to say that sort of detail has totally gone past my mind. But, I guess, like, you do kind of get the feeling that, she has done her own training and, has had her own journey with the Force. So, like, she definitely knows what she's doing in teaching Rey.
Yep. It's funny that it was...
And, yeah, it was just, like, lovely depth to it all.
Yeah, right. 'Cause it's funny that, like, even though it feels like a real reveal in the film that, she has a lightsaber and she was training with Luke and was pretty much a trained Jedi. It's funny that it feels like, even when I watch it, oh, wow, they did that. And then you go, oh, actually, she was training Rey at the start of the film.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like you said, it's not delved into as much, but it's very, like, she calls her master and, and really seems to be, giving proper solid instructions and stuff. So just to go back to the Kylo and Mustafar, does it sort of delve in? Does he, like, kind of understand the significance of Mustafar, or is it just a place for him to go get what he wants?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's seen as, like, Vader has set out this sort of challenge for someone to get through to the Sith Wayfinder. Like, he has to get through the local people.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this beast that's like, this is really odd, and it's like there's a beast in sort of a river or something that Kylo has to cross, and it's like some sort of, don't know if it's like an ogre or some just like big beast.
Like Shrek.
That also has... Yeah, that also has this like giant spider. Yeah, it's like this ogre and like a giant spider that are two separate but one single being.
Oh.
It's really weird. Like, you know, Kylo also has to pass to get through to the Wayfinder. So, like, it's kind of quite fantasy sort of in that in that way. But, yeah, there's definitely more added to that scene. But I feel like that, if they had that scene in full in the movie, it just wouldn't have translated well.
Yeah, right. Does Kylo, like, know, like, he knows that's where, like, Darth Vader was sort of essentially sort of created and or, yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, he knew Grandpa was there, so.
Yeah. I always kind of wonder, it's like I said, there's the sort of stuff they never touch on in the movies, like how much he actually knows about the story of Anakin Skywalker. Like, he kind of knows I mean, I imagine he knows most of it. Luke would have told him, like, hey, he was a bad bloke, we saved him, and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I don't know. That's funny, yeah, because it's played so quickly in the film, isn't it? Like, he's sort of just there. He sort of knocks a few dudes down, and then he just grabs the Wayfinder, and then he's literally like in his TIE fighter and he's away. Like, it's straight to Is the Emperor stuff? So the Emperor, I think I have read that he's basically just saying, I'm a clone. I'm not OG Emperor. I'm like inhabited by the spirit of the Emperor or something. Is that accurate?
See, in my skipping of the last 90 pages, I didn't actually get to the clone stuff.
Oh, really? I thought that would have been played up, like, right at the front.
No, like, all the stuff about Rey's father and whatnot, I didn't actually get to, so... Oh, I mean, there is some stuff at the beginning with, like, the Snoke clones in the sort of floating tubes, but...
Yeah, is that sort of explained anymore? He's just like, oh, there's a bunch of Snokes in that tube over there.
I don't feel like it was explored much more. Like, it doesn't really go too in-depth and explain how they came to be. Yeah,
that was sort of, a bit of a funny one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's all this stuff, you're like, oh, what does that mean? Like, is that... Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be explored, though, in, like, comics or a book in the future. Like, that's way too weird to not go into at some point.
Oh, for sure. They're going to mine this thing for all it's worth.
Oh,
you know? And especially, like, we don't know what's going on with Star Wars. I mean, we've got these books. I mean, just to completely veer off in the other direction for a second, like, what was your reaction off the back of the High Republic stuff?
I'm excited for everyone who is excited. It's just doesn't seem like my...
Cup of tea?
Sort of, yeah. Like, I'm sure there'll be stuff that, you know, I'll read eventually and I'll like. And I'm not, like, disappointed by it, but it's just not something that I'm particularly drawn to. Like, I've still got my sequel trilogy here. Like, we're still going to be getting their stories, so I'm not disappointed by any means.
Yep.
It's just, not exactly something I'm going to rush to spend money on.
Would you ever... Do you have any interest in reading Legends books now? Like, if you basically, if you're in lockdown for another month and you burn through all those Star Wars books, would you be like, oh, go give Ed of the Empire a read? And would that be something you'd be interested in? You're just like, that just seems like too much work.
No, I'm enjoying finding out about Legends through, like, discussions we have on my podcast and, like, just hearing people's explanation of it. Like, I like having this really sort of separate... Sort
of alternative timeline kind of thing.
Yeah, like, really patchy understanding of it, because it just makes it so much more amusing.
Yeah, like, what?
Like, I'm happy not knowing.
Luke fell in love with a ghost on a spaceship, and, I mean, there's plenty of wacky stuff in that EU.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one everyone always goes to, the Luke falling in love with the ghost or whatever it was, but...
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, the High Republic stuff, like I said, I'm not a book reader, but I can certainly see the logic behind doing it and using it as a jumping off point. And, it doesn't cost much to do. You might be able to mine some absolute gold out of it that people really latch onto, and then you can springboard off that and away you go. It's so uncertain now, like, sort of talking about, what's next for Star Wars. I know they've already wrapped season 2 of The Mandalorian. We actually got some casting news today that Michael I always pronounce it wrong. Michael Biehn is going to be in it. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He Aliens and Terminator, man of the 80s. So they've apparently the word is that he's going to be in Mandalorian season 2, which is cool. Good for him.
I hadn't seen that.
Yeah,
nice.
So I just saw that on Twitter this morning, so hopefully that's true. I mean, who knows? Crazy stuff floats around all the time. Although it's sort of the Star Wars sort of crazy rumor mill speculation stuff has certainly slowed down. People have got other things on their mind at the moment. Like, a few weeks ago when Star Wars news sort of ground to a halt when the movies were done, it was just like, oh, this is been stopped, or this person's been fired, or this person's been hired, or they're doing this, and it's just the brakes are on.
Yeah.
So where are you at with Celebration at the moment? Are you just sort of fingers crossed? Are you just watching that Aussie dollar just plummet and?
At this point, I would honestly prefer it to just be cancelled. Partly because the dollar is really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And also because, it's just, I've kind of got it in my mind now that it's not going to happen.
Yep.
So I kind of would just like it to have, sort of this firm confirmation.
That it's done, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the idea that I like that it's not completely canned, and I feel like because it's not tied to a film or a release, or the only thing that kind of date-wise it's got to hit is Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary. Well, we can always celebrate the 41st anniversary of Empire Strikes Back if we're just getting if Anthony Daniels is just coming up to talk about it, and a guy who was in an Ugnaught suit or something, it's they're not going to grind the whole thing. If they have to push it to next year, I don't think it'll be the end of the world. It'll be a bummer, but at the same time, a lot of people at the time after Chicago were surprised that they were even doing it this year. So
yeah, that's the thing. I feel like it should never have been this year anyway. They should have put 2 years between them.
Well, yeah,
at least.
I sort of thought that. I was surprised, but at the same time, Chicago was such a success, and then when this went on sale, it people forget, people scrambled for those tickets.
Yeah.
And it was just sold out in a day or in hours. So it wasn't as if the demand wasn't there.
Oh, yeah, totally. But now that, it honestly does, it probably won't be going ahead. Part of me is just I don't even know if I'll go if it is next year. Because I'm in the back of my mind, I'm just I could just take that money and, plan ahead for a big, 2-week trip to Orlando in a few years' time instead.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
get more value for my money. And
yeah, I mean, things are going to change. People's situations are going to change. But at the same time, it's sort of, in some circumstances, people are just well, at least, when we get through this, I've got Celebration to look forward to. So, I think it'll be interesting to see what they do. I mean, I know that they're holding their powder at the moment because they're kind of going, end of August, stuff's changing by the minute here. We could all still be inside in August, or everything could be cool by then. So we'll just have to see. But yeah, I'm hoping. My money's on postponement. I think it'll get pushed to sort of April next year or something like that. I reckon is probably most likely, but who knows?
Yeah, it's everything is changing by the hour at the moment. It's just
I know
it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah, exactly. Now just to get back on this book just quickly. I know we've dipped into some little bits of it and stuff. Does it give you touched on Zori Bliss a little bit. Did we get any sort of more insight onto her, what her deal is? Is she just
yes.
What does she actually what does she do? Is she just a local criminal, or is she just kind of someone who's just sort of stuck on this planet? Because she kind of implies that she's sort of stuck there and she can't get out.
Yeah, she's definitely. Well, we see more of the gang.
Oh yeah, her buddies.
The group Poe would have been a part of. 12 years prior. So yeah, we see more of that sort of crew, and we do we get to meet the characters. We get sort of an explanation. It still doesn't go too deeply into whatever her and Poe's relationship was.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I feel like we get the vibe that, you know, yes, they sort of hated each other, but they also cared about each other, but they don't really specify much beyond that.
Yeah, okay. So it's not like that they, like, live together or it's not implied that they had some really serious relationship or anything. They sort of...
I mean, like, the boss of the gang, if you will, does sort of make a joke about, you know, Poe being Zori's boyfriend because Zori left two of the other gang members, you know, unconscious while she went to go help the trio.
Yep.
But she kind of rejects that. So, you know, I don't know how much stock you can put in any of that anyway.
Oh, so she's not even the boss of her own gang? Or she's not even the boss of the gang?
I don't feel like... I don't know if there is, like, an outright boss, but, like... Yeah, she's not the leader as such.
Interesting.
But yeah, we just get a few more scenes from her point of view, which I wasn't expecting.
Yep.
And so, yeah, kind of... It did make me enjoy her more... in a way, which was nice.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of enjoyed what she did in the movie, but it was sort of, you know, she was just sort of there, and it was, you know, the sort of going from place to place to place to place to place in the film was quite jarring earlier on. It's not so much now when you watch it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
It was always that kind of like, hey, this is the last chapter. Are we really chewing this time to go to all these places? It's sort of, it's almost a little sort of like, I don't know if you've read Harry Potter, but sort of, you know, Deathly Hallows, it's like, you know, the first half of Deathly Hallows is like, oh, we're just in this forest for the first half of the film, just sort of chasing.
Yeah.
It was a similar vibe, really. I mean, I'd have to go back and put them side by side.
I do agree.
But there was a bit of
As
like...
someone who's read those books many times.
Oh, right. I've definitely read...
Oh, yeah.
I've definitely read Deathly Hallows at least twice, and I've seen the film numerous times, which is reasonably accurate, but...
Deathly Hallows Part 2, the midnight release, is my first ever midnight release.
Oh, yeah. I never did a Potter midnight release. But I would go, you know, definitely go first weekend and things. So just in case, let's just double back around to Rose. So obviously probably the most underused character in Rise of Skywalker, got the shortest stick. Yeah. Certainly seems... My theory sort of just after it came out seems to be true that basically someone had to bounce off that carry footage. And so she was the one who got stuck at the base to do that because Leia, obviously they just had footage of Leia kind of just standing around talking, so someone has to stand around and talk to her. So although I've spoken on here that I thought they could have inserted into the battle a bit more at the end, but does she... What's she up to in the book? Or is she sort of just doing more stuff at the base, is it implied?
We don't see too much of her. We just sort of get like an expansion on what she's doing. Like probably the best part of the novelization is at the beginning. So at Celebration we saw a picture of Rey and Rose in the same scene together. Mm-hmm. And everyone got excited because, you know, two characters the same age talking to each other.
Yep.
And then that scene was cut. That scene is in the novelization. And it is like really, I think we get maybe 2 or 3 Rey and Rose scenes. And they're really lovely. We see that they're friends. We see that they really care about each other. And, you know, if you happen to ship them, those scenes are actually really, really lovely.
Are they...
Like, they are quite easily able to be read as sort of shipping material.
Oh, wow.
And that was great. And really unexpected, but really great fun.
Are they just sort of talking shop? Are they sort of laying out plans? Are they just are they sort of implied that they just like hang out and do stuff together outside Rebel stuff? Or is it more...
was one scene, I think they were talking about the Falcon and how Rose had like improved it or added something to it. Okay. And like Rey was really grateful and they just... my brain is like already forgotten the exact details, but they just
That's okay.
share, like...
I'm just putting you on the spot going, come on, give me all these details.
No, they just have a really good, like, solid friendship and, you know, they care about each other outside of, like, their other friends, which is sometimes a problem with female characters is that, you know, they can only connect with each other via male characters.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And I think that's where you can tell this novelization is written by a woman in that, you know, their scenes are theirs alone.
Yep.
Then in terms of like Finn and Rose, you know, that ship is, you know, dead in the water, but we still get a sort of view that like they're still like really good solid friends, and that's really lovely.
Is it sort of like something that kind of got played out and went, it's not for us, or just sort of, it was just a thing, just a moment. It was a moment.
I mean, they don't go that far in depth at all, but yeah, I guess it's sort of like the vibe you get.
Love a good vibe.
I feel like the novelization tries really hard to not have any romantic connections.
Yep. So not even like the Kylo. I know you didn't get to the end of the book, or sort of brought it back around, but it isn't sort of implied that it's. I mean, it's not implied in the film either that Kylo and Rey want to smooch at the end or anything. Anyway.
Well, I know just from one of the bursts of outrage from one side of fandom earlier on that the kiss, I think it's described as like a kiss of gratitude.
Oh.
Which makes me laugh because that's exactly what it was. But yeah, no, I feel like the movie did this as well. They just tried quite hard, and whether or not this is a good thing or not, it's, I feel like, debatable. Yeah, they tried really hard to not have any sort of clear romances in order to please everyone.
Yep. Yeah, it really did feel like hey, let's just try and keep everybody happy on this one.
It's
somewhat successfully and then somewhat unsuccessfully. Like, it's funny that lots of little things and then going like, hey, we're just gonna, like, the Rey Palpatine stuff was such a like it's like dropping a humongous turd in the middle that not even a turd, or just an elephant that like some people like can really
Oh, I love it.
Well, some people love it, and some people are just like, oh, that was completely unnecessary, or where'd that come from, or whatever. You know what I mean? But it was just like, we're trying so hard to please everybody, old fans, new fans, and then we're just going to drop this great big thing in the middle that we probably could have got away with not even addressing. The film probably could have played out pretty close the same and just sliced some lines of dialogue out and not even addressed it. But, they went for it, so,
Yeah, like, The Rise of Skywalker is, I think, at least for the time being, my favourite movie.
Yep.
But it still does feel like in parts that it was just trying to please everyone.
Yep.
By, like, not going hard enough on some issues.
Oh, for sure.
Or some plot points, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I still love it dearly, and, like, there's a lot of stuff that it did right for me. But, yeah, there's just a few little things that I feel like it could have done more definitively, or
I'll be curious to see the fan edit. People start doing fan edits and stuff like now that the digital copies out, the fan edits sort of start coming up, and people are going to be inside for a while. Like I'd be curious to see it. Like if they did a cut where they just coming back to the Rey Palpatine thing, where you could slice those scenes a little bit and see how the movie plays. If you just sort of take some lines of dialogue out and stuff, and like you could even just say, Palpatine wanted to kill your parents still, just because he found out you were strong in the Force, or felt that you were strong in the Force, and then just left it at that. You know what I mean? Like, you'd only have to slice a few things out, but I don't know. But we'll see. I do a bit of video editing, but that just seems like I got enough to do. If I get coronavirus and I'm stuck by myself in the house and my family has to leave me alone for 2 weeks, and I can operate a computer, talk to me then. Maybe I'll with fever I'll sit there madly trying to edit the Rey is nobody cut a little bit more, but I'll see how we go. Now we've finished. Like, Skywalker Saga is done. The story is ended at this point. Rey's looking over those twin suns with BB-8. They've decided story-wise to go back, as is sort of the usual thing. Obviously we've got Mando season 2. We've got this High Republic. There'll be little odds and sods of things that they're doing. What do you like when they finally fire up this? They take time forward again. Like, as somebody who sequel trilogy is your jam, like where do you want to see it? Like, if you were picking, if Lucasfilm called up and they said, Holly, you're gonna tell us where we're gonna pick this story up from. Do you want to go like the day after she gets back on that Falcon, you find out what happens, or do you want to jump 10 years, 20 years? Like, what's your ideal scenario?
I mean, I definitely would love to see like the sort of aftermath of that war, like. And I mean, we are seeing this in a a kids comic coming in a few weeks' time, hopefully. Still.
Oh, really? So what's that?
One of the IDW Star Wars, IDW Star Wars, I forget what, Star Wars Adventures. They're moving they're relaunching and moving post-Tross.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, so we're getting our first trio content.
So that will be time. That will be the new furthest point in time. Wow, because I was so sure that like that's just a brick wall until further notice, and because we don't want to know anything. So that'll be that she'll go back to Resistance Base. I mean, those comics are pretty light. She'd be like, oh, hey. I didn't live on Tatooine for 20 years. For some reason, people thought that's what I was doing. Did you think that? Did you get any indication? No. I thought she was just taking a moment and then getting back on the ship and flying home.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, she's flying home, or like because I've read a few fan fictions. Set after that, like
I've read a few fan fictions. There's a T-shirt. I've read a few fan fictions.
Yeah, like, Finn and Poe on the Falcon, and then after they're done on Tatooine, they'll, pop over to Yavin or somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in terms of stories, post-Tross, you've got all, of course you've got, like, the cleanup of the war.
Mm-hmm.
But then Finn's whole life story is a huge, huge opportunity right there.
Yeah,
so much of him is still unexplored.
Well, that's right. I always kind of thought that they would delve into that more in this last movie. Like I sort of, I sort of thought that the First Order full of stolen children would have been the angle that the film played up on more. Just the fact that you've got characters looking for family as well. They would have, like, I kind of go, they'll defeat the First Order because they'll basically get them the information about their families, and they'll all go, well, I don't want to be in this stupid First Order thing. They'll break the conditioning, then that's how they would do it.
Yeah.
And that was how they would kind of like defeat the First Order. I mean, the First Order, who knows what they're up to? They were just like, I don't know, we still run things. You kind of blew up Palpatine's ships, but we were still controlling stuff. I don't know. The mop-up stuff used to be very interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like I would have, like, of course, all that Finn stuff would have been great on screen, but I feel like we almost would have needed an entire other movie. So I feel like, in light of that, if we can get the right person to write the novel or novels, then, I feel like that's a story that could be done excellently in that sort of way.
Yep.
But it sort of needs to be written by the right person.
Do you think they'll stick pretty close? Like you said, if their next thing is a comic that's sort of taking place pretty close, they won't jump too far ahead just because, they've got story. If you jump far ahead, you've got to establish what they're doing. This way you can kind of just slowly inch yourself forward and do little things before, they decide majorly if they... if it becomes another set of movies, if it becomes, they do a Disney Plus show, if they're just going to be books, it all depends on what people wanted, what actors want to do and what the market wants and stuff. But I know it's very hard to ask an actor, once they've committed, 6 or 7 years to Star Wars, hey, what are you going to do Star Wars next? It's like, dude, the last thing I want to do is Star Wars for a while, thanks.
Yeah, like John and especially Oscar seemed not at all keen to come back anytime soon.
Yeah. But
so, like, I can't see... Yeah, Lucasfilm going too far ahead with their stories. Probably just keep it, for now at least.
Yeah.
Sort of like the immediate aftermath.
They could find a young-looking Oscar Isaac and go back and do the young Poe Dameron adventures or something, Yeah.
Well, I mean, we are getting the book, so...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Which I feel like that was another thing. I felt like somehow the novelisation, especially with the extra scenes with Sorry, sort of set it up in a way for that book.
Yep, for sure.
Like, we got a bit more background into Sorry so that we get a bit more interest in that book that's coming, hopefully, still in August.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but we'll see.
Hopefully.
We'll see. You might be through you might be through all your books by then.
Yeah.
If you're hungry for some more content.
Oh, God.
At least we live in a world where, you can get it delivered to your house or buy it digitally or, something if we're all still stuck inside. Who knows? Or maybe you'll be able to just walk up at Celebration and just, buy it from the author at a table and everything will be fine. maybe.
Yeah, I would need the dollar to really jump up.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden the Australian dollar is back up to, parity or $1.10, and we're just throwing money around like nobody's business at Celebration.
Yeah, I just looked at the cost of the accommodation and put it into Australian dollars. At the moment, it's not pretty.
Oh, no. You don't want to be looking at that
Just added
stuff.
like another grand.
Oh, my God. Well, ours is all paid for at the moment, so it's...
Oh, nice.
But it just depends, if it if it all changes, if we just hold on to it until it's cancelled, it's cancelled. We'll just it ain't over till it's over, as they say. Awesome. Thanks so much for doing this, Holly. I know you've got to go back off to Hammer Barn soon and get on the front line so everybody can keep society churning over a little bit longer. But
no, thank you for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. It's always great when you come on and enlighten me on what's going on in these books and things. And what's going on with your pod? Are you still rolling at the moment, or are you on a little break?
We are on a little bit of a hiatus. One of our hosts, Amanda, is in Seattle, so she's actually been on lockdown essentially for about a month now.
Oh, wow.
And she's got a asthmatic kid, so she has to stay home and look after him more than anything else. And then Jen's in the Bay Area, so we're all just looking after ourselves first, and then hopefully at some point getting an episode out in the near future, because being stuck at home is not great.
No. But, and the thing is also, as I was saying, like some people stuck at home and are looking for things to do, and if you are stuck at home with the kids, you're just on that all the time, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to carve time out. It makes it actually harder. But podcasting can wait, and hopefully you'll get everything will be back to normal soon, and we'll see it. But there's a whole there's a back catalogue if people want to jump back in. Where do they find the back catalogue?
We are on pretty much all of the major podcasting sites at the moment. Of course, iTunes or Apple Podcast, whatever it's called these days, is our main one. But we're also on SoundCloud and Google and wherever else you get your pods. So go back and listen to our old episodes. Some of them are pretty good, if I do say so myself. So.
Excellent, they sure are. And then online, if they want to follow you on your tweets, you do some good public service stuff as well. So if you want to know what's going on in the world, Holly's always...
you can follow me at _Holly Tweets. I am currently locked, but always happy to add...
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, you can find our stuff at starwarsspelledout.com. Also got the Peppa Pig podcast rolling again after we took a little break a few weeks ago. So that's all kicking back into gear now that, like I said, Matt and I are both home with the kids. So it's a nice little break. And hopefully the plan is with the podcast is to just keep rolling as we can. If we miss stuff, if life gets in the way, life gets in the way. But at the moment, things are still rolling. So hopefully we'll get you back on again soon, Holly, when there's new stuff to talk about. And we'll either... we'll catch up in person at Celebration, whatever that will be, or we'll catch up on here.
Yeah, I'll have to come down to Melbourne one day as well. Yes,
definitely come down, and we'll get some of the Melbourne crew together, and we'll all talk about and have a laugh about that crazy time when we're all stuck inside.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. See you soon.
See ya.
Bye.